There is no doubt in my mind that AI is evolving at an exponential rate, faster than previous tech revolutions. I could not do my company that I have started now the way I'm doing it if AI did. It's why I started it. But the point is, I am doing the role of 4 or 5 people. I can get done what 4 or 5 people can, and it's just me. I work with startups who haven't hired marketing, and I work with them about rethinking how marketing should be hired. Don't do it the old way. Don't go hire this big team that can do X, Y, and Z. You can change the roles and change what that function does and how it works. And, a startup that, used to have maybe 10 people on a marketing team, you can do that in 2. I've lived this in building my company and doing things that I never thought I could do. But AI has given me the tools to be able to do that. Every hour or so of AI use feels like a 4-hour workday. And given my life is focused on AI, I feel like I have these, 32-hour workdays.
Hey everyone, welcome to New Rules of the Game. This is where we challenge the status quo and dive deep into how technology is reshaping everything from business, society, the very nature of reality. And today we're tackling one of the most mind-blowing shifts of our time, which is artificial intelligence. My guest today is Natalie Lambert, an AI strategist who got her AI start inside Google and now runs her own consulting firm called GenEdge, where she helps marketing teams gain a competitive edge using AI. We're going to break down what's real, what's hype, and where AI is actually headed. I keep hearing bold claims about the AI revolution that we're in now and artificial superintelligence and things like this. Are we really on the path to superintelligence here? Is this real, or is this just another hype cycle?
There is no doubt in my mind that AI is evolving at an exponential rate, faster than previous tech revolutions, like the Apple and mobile and all of those things that, everybody in our lifetime have been through. This isn't just hype. AI is already disrupting industries, as you've mentioned, from coding to medicine to art, decision-making, all of these. While you've said a whole bunch of terms and the AGI gets thrown around as well, I don't want to put a stake in the ground on those. There's so many people smarter than all of us who are really focused on those areas. But the reality is that in the areas that I focus on and where I really have been leveraging AI to do incredible things, this technology has already radically enhanced many processes, leading to big changes in roles and outcomes and how people work. So it came in kind of 2 years, and we have seen a fundamental shift in how work happens. And so to that end, yes, this is not hype. This is here, and this is ready to be used today.
Well, it's amazing because, like you said, it's been in the last 2 years. And it's so new to so many people, though. They're just not familiar. And the folks that are going to be watching this are the folks that are watching this are really asking a question. It's like, where do I start half the time? Or, should I ever use this? Is it dangerous? And things like that. So we're going to get into all that today in this conversation. But I tell you what, let's start off with, where did you get all your insight and experience?
I have always been fascinated with how technology can transform the way we work and the way we live, and ultimately how technology makes us more efficient and life more enjoyable. Brad, you and I worked together at Citrix, where we were sitting here looking at technologies like desktop and application virtualization that enabled people to work from anywhere. It seems very antiquated right now, but that was a really big deal at the time, that ability to work from everywhere. And finding these technologies that could truly impact us as humans in our work lives have always been incredibly fascinating to me. So going from technologies like that to ones where I'm using AI to help marketers improve their impact while also just getting a lot more out of their jobs and job satisfaction. So at the end of the day, I have focused on figuring out and playing with these technologies to support marketers in that belief that if they can leverage this technological advancement, they will be able to enrich their experiences both at work and in their life. And so my focus on AI really has been just that. It's about using this powerful tool to truly unlock our capabilities while hopefully being able to find solutions to some of these longstanding challenges. That goes well beyond the work that I do, but the things like where it can happen in medicine and all these things, there's just so much that I think AI can play a part in, and really having fun kind of exploring how it all comes together.
Well, when people these days think of AI, even some of the folks that aren't real computer savvy, they've wandered into ChatGPT because they've heard that, right? And there's so many different dimensions and different services and so forth out there. So, what actually is, how would you characterize what's beyond ChatGPT? Just kind of ChatGPT asking a question and getting a really useful answer as opposed to a Google search response, right? Where does the industry go beyond ChatGPT?
Ultimately, I do believe that AI is just going to get folded into the technologies we use every day. So right now they are these third-party solutions, whether it's ChatGPT, whether it's Perplexity, whether you're using Claude, whether you're using Gemini is a slightly different example because Gemini also comes through all the different technologies. But, AI, I believe, will ultimately just become part of the fabric of the tools that we do every day. However, if we go to how these technologies are used today, tools like ChatGPT, if you're just asking a question of it and getting an answer, I'd argue you're really missing the boat on how these technologies can truly help you. Going into some of the depths of these technologies by creating GPTs, or what I call these mini specialists trained to do the stuff you do, whether it's in your work life, such as creating content or analyzing data, or in your personal life, sending an invitation to your kid's birthday, like whatever it is, creating these specialists that can help you in all of these different areas, it becomes just a better way and a more kind of fulfilling way of using these technologies to do a lot more.
Well, that's interesting because it kind of feels like you create a relationship with ChatGPT, don't you? Like I've seen it do memory updating. It's like I might have told it too much there, right? So it starts to know something about me, and then however I get better at my prompting, it can just really come back with some helpful information.
It can not only do that. One of the kind of funny example was I was upgrading my license last year from the ChatGPT Plus to ChatGPT Teams. I wanted the extra security features in ChatGPT Teams, which I'll sure we'll get into. But in doing that, when I first started using the new version versus my old version, I'm sitting here thinking, ChatGPT is so dumb. Like, where's everything that I trained it on for the past year about, like, it knew how to write like me, and it knew how to do things, and it knew things about me, so that whenever I was asking for something, it knew the type of work I did, so it knew how to cater the answers. And switching over, it was just this moment of, I can't use this anymore. So fortunately, ChatGPT did have a solve for that, and they asked if I wanted to bring my entire profile over. But there was a good day before that pop-up showed up asking me if I wanted to bring that I really thought I'd have to train this thing for a year again to be as useful as it was in the past.
Well, what's interesting there? It's like that's just like hiring a new employee. They come on board and they don't know anything or
Yep.
anything about you, and you have to train them on everything. You got to bring them up to speed. And so that's fascinating. If you go to a new model of ChatGPT that you could bring the old one with you, that's cool. But if you go to a completely different AI system, they're not going to share that data. You probably don't want them to share that data either,
Correct.
right? And so, it's interesting. There's a lot of folks out there that they're worried about AI kind of replacing them in whatever role they have. Now, there are some roles where it may be doing that, but I think there's a better and a stronger story toward the notion of using it just to make yourself more valuable in the role you have. What are your thoughts there?
There is no doubt in my mind that AI is going to replace people in jobs. It is a fundamental reality. And for those who try to sugarcoat it, like, I'm not one of them. So I do believe it is going to shift. However, I believe new jobs will come about this, like with all technology shifts, new jobs have come about. And those who truly embrace the technology will be able to do more. So one of the things you made a comment about earlier, just in your overarching comments, was these, 100 million, $500 million companies that are run by AI or something like that. I mean, we're getting to a point where you can have these 100 million companies with 5 employees, 10 employees. I mean, like that is imminent at this point, because for those who truly take advantage of these technologies, you're truly just superpowering yourself. Like, I hate to use that word, but like it's what it is. You are enhancing your capabilities to do so much more and to even do tasks that you might not have done in the past. So I really try to get people to think about kind of reframing how they talk about AI, which is just like, you don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how to do everything, but you know what the outcome is. So if you could guide AI, like imagine how much more would be possible. And like, I've lived this in building my company and doing things that I never thought I could do. But AI has given me the tools to be able to do that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, imagine years ago, okay, before the internet, we
Mhm.
were kind of all on our own. We had to go to the library to learn things, and we hoped it was up to date and accurate. The internet comes around, and now we feel like, wow, I'm connected to anything and everything now. I can ask questions to get answers. But now with AI, it's a whole nother order of magnitude of all the expertise in the world associated with this one thing that I'm doing right now is aggregated together, summarized, and the results are handed to me. It's like a whole nother order of magnitude. Yesterday I went to the dentist, check up, whatever,
Mhm.
x-rays, and they instantly take x-rays and they go onto a digital screen right behind me. And the guy goes, hey, I'm going to push the AI button. And he does. And instantly AI analyzes the x-rays and compares them to thousands of them around the world. And it points exactly at the areas of either interest or non-interest or whatever. It's like,
Mhm.
oh my God, it's everywhere in the world right now, right?
Yeah.
And so, do you have other examples where you're seeing AI sprout up all over the place?
Well, I can give you some of the examples that just are personal to me, and then other ones that I'm just fascinated by in general. But, the ability to, example with me, I'm solopreneur building a company, and you need to have a really nice website. I had a website, and it was solid B minus maybe. It needed more advanced capabilities. And this is where you go hire a web developer to create a killer site. Well, I was able to explain to ChatGPT, and in other cases Claude, exactly what I wanted in a component, and they built it for me. So all I had to do was paste it into my website. So, for example, on my website, I have a scrolling bar of logos, kind of stock ticker style. I have my hero banner with text that moves in and out. I've got these testimonial cards. These are not things that, Natalie could go do in the past. And this is now right at my fingertips.
Mhm.
Marketers can now create ROI calculators. Like, these are just things that your standard people in certain roles like couldn't do, and you'd hire people to do. And now we have the toolkits and the capabilities to do that. If you look beyond marketing, which is where my focus is, there's just so much that I know enough to be dangerous, not really enough to speak to. But to your point, in the medical fields, in medicine, in genomics, like in all of these different areas where AI's ability to process so much data at scale that it can start to see things in it before and in advance of any human being able to do that. My favorite example here was that study that came out last year around AI being able to detect potential breast cancer 4 years before a human reviewing a scan could. Like, that is truly beyond life and death. I mean, that is getting into it so early that true kind of remediations and treatments can be done. And so I look at AI as something that truly enables us to do more if we know how to use it, and look at it as a technology to truly help us, not displace us.
Well, I ask a question when I hear some of this, which is, are the content creators sort of in jeopardy here? And here's why. Years ago, you create a bunch of content and you do a Google search. The Google search would come back and give you links to go and read that content. Go read here, this will be helpful. Go watch this video, that'll be helpful. See this image, that'll be useful, right? Nowadays, you ask Google a search, it comes back with its own AI response,
Yep.
which is an aggregate summary of the content, but you never go and visit the content page itself. And so the content folks aren't getting any love. They're actually, their value is being pulled and AI'd and then used around the world, but they don't see any of that.
I want to reframe that,
Yeah.
because AI only knows as much as it has information to parse.
Yeah.
So you are 100% correct that the standard Google search and you get links, that's going away. I think Gartner just released some type of prediction that 25% of Google searches are just gone, as in that regard. So gone. However, we have to start creating content not only for humans, because there's still going to be people looking up information, but these content creators also have to learn how to create content for machines. And it really is a different way of thinking. It's a different way of doing these jobs. So for example, let's say you're creating a blog, and traditionally, at least at all the companies I've worked for, we have a blog team that's leveraging a CMS where they're putting the metadata and the title and all of the content and all of that stuff. But some of the more advanced tooling for schema aren't in the content management system for the blog, because that's advanced. You would use that on some of the product pages or solution pages or something like that. Well, it's when AI can digest that schema that it can start to truly understand, and I use that word very lightly, AI does not understand, but is able to take that information and then relay it back to others. And so we need to start writing for AI as much as we're writing for humans, so that when people are doing these searches for their next product, for their next vacation, for their next whatever the case may be, your content, your point of view, your services do bubble up to the top of the AI overviews, the perplexity answers, the search GPT responses. So we need to find a way. And I think this is, for content creators, a really interesting place, because yes, AI can help you create content at scale. Now you need to figure out how to get that in a format that's great for both humans and machines to read.
Wow, that is the first time I've ever heard that. Let me make sure I got this right. We need to stop creating content for humans. We need to start creating content for AI, because AI is the thing that's going to aggregate it and make sense out of it and ultimately deliver it to humans.
Yes, but I didn't say stop creating it for humans.
Okay.
That is absolutely still necessary. And, when Google has been very clear, and I always forget the acronym, but they've got their 4-letter acronym on how they decide what is great content. And as part of that, they've got things like security in there, reputation, and things like authority. And like, do you have the authority to be talking about this? And this is where things like customer interviews and first party data and things become important. So that is all content for humans. You are making something useful and desirable to read by your human audience. That said, you do have to find a way to put it into a format that is good for the machines as well.
Well, that's right.
So,
When you do a ChatGPT search, you'll get a response back, and oftentimes there are little links embedded in there. So it gives you a little summary, and it goes, go here to find out more. So you ultimately get there. So I think you're right. Now, I would ask the next question associated with infrastructure to really run this. This has always been a deal. It's like, do we have enough data centers? Do we have enough power and so forth? In each country in the world that potentially wants to run their own AI systems, right? Now, with that, a couple of weeks ago, there was an announcement, right, from SoftBank, even Sam Altman and Larry Ellison, that they're going to invest $500 billion in 500,000 square feet of data center for AI in Texas.
yeah.
What do you think of that?
Listen, I am certainly not a hardware expert. There is no doubt that the amount of AI consumption that is happening today and that is expected to happen in the future is too much for today's infrastructure. That has been made very clear in everything we've been hearing. And I think we've even heard Sam Altman talk a lot about one of the inhibitors to training new models is simply the power shortages that exist to continue to power all of these different machines. I think so. I think that's real, and I think this infrastructure is important. At the same time, I do believe that the cost of training and running these models is going to come down, likely faster than Moore's law based on everything I've read. So I think it's important. This is a fundamental technology like the internet was, and we had to create new infrastructure for that. New infrastructure for mobile. Like these things happened, and it did change how we use different systems. But I think this one, hopefully, we'll start to see some of the kind of the balances in terms of the better chips enable better training and all of that to come down in other areas. So I am hopeful. And, I think providers like DeepSeek, which we can argue how they trained their models and how they did everything they did to get a model of that quality. But regardless, they have shown that you can do a lot of this training and get AI at a fraction of the cost. So, they might have gone through some shortcuts to get there, but it is examples like that start to show you where costs could come down.
Yeah, and I think that drives competition,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I think Altman, got right on the horn after that one and started offering new things that would compete at those levels as well.
And
It's also
Microsoft, not Microsoft, I'm sorry, Google then lowered a bunch of their costs and released their upcoming models as well. So it's like with every one of these advancements, you are starting to see costs go down. And so it's always going to kind of be the balancing act. And I think new models doing new incredible things take more capacity, whereas some of the things that as they get more just ingrained in what we do and they become kind of more standard, the costs on those type of models or usage drops.
and the competition continues because
It's
just
a
today,
cycle.
well, just today, the announcement from the president of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen, just announced that EU is going to invest 200 billion in AI themselves. They want to be the AI champions in their world, and they're coming in after there's a lot of work done ahead of them, but still the world is going to go AI for so long. Just get in now and and get your AI going. They have some particularly interesting challenges being in the EU,
Yeah.
so we'll see how that pans out.
Yeah. I agree. Don't have anything really to add on that other than, we're just going to continue to see this AI race, and it's coming from everywhere. I mean, the whole deep sea thing was China kind of coming in with a model. Now UK wanting to, or EU wanting to come in and participate. I mean, this is a market that everyone wants to be part of because they so see how this technology is going to radically change everything we do. And so
Well,
it's
the notes I heard on that were that regulation, because there's a lot of regulation in the EU, could slow it down. But that actually brings up the other topic about just AI regulation in general, so it doesn't run out of control.
Yeah, I've been focused on this from a legal standpoint. I'm certainly not a lawyer. I play one on TV, but not a lawyer. But just in some of you're starting to see some of the back and forth and just some of the legal copyright issues around content. So there's regulations around where data can be stored, but then there's also, in my world, regulations or laws around when using AI, what can be copywritten and what cannot be, and where those lines are. And it's a very blurry line as you get into the middle on, when AI creates something and a human puts certain amount of effort in, but not enough effort. Like there are these balancing acts that whether it be regulations or the legal ramifications, just a lot of things we are going to have to parse through as this technology becomes mainstream.
You mean, so if you go into AI and you say, hey, I really want to invent this sort of thing, could you come up with all the technical details? And then could you create the patent, form and submission and so forth? And then it gets granted. You're saying part of the patent application potentially in the future, or maybe now, is how much AI was used in the invention of this?
Yeah, so the way the copyright law currently stands is that in the US, anything created by AI, and I mean that entirely, is not you cannot copyright it. In the UK, the prompter gets the copyright, not the AI. But in the US, AI generated anything cannot be copywritten. And so then you start to get into the nuances. And last week, 2 weeks ago, a new, I don't know what it's called, new finding, a new legal thing came out and basically said that if there is significant human edits or participation,
Yeah.
then an AI, then content generated by AI but edited by the human can be copywritten by the human. And, they didn't state how much. It's not like a 75%, it's significant contribution. Then that does pass off. There's also talked about other examples where AI generates an image and then a human puts edits on top of it. The edits can be copyright protected, but not the underlying image. So there's just a lot of this that is working through, and that finding from just 2 weeks ago was actually massive progress, whether it feels like it or not, because they're actually making a statement on the middle. And I think we're going to have to get to a point where it's more specific what that middle means so people understand. But yes, to answer your question, they look at how much AI participated it in something when you are trying to get a copyright for something that has been created.
Well, that's interesting because AI is creating more and more these days. And those that are seeing the value in it are really gravitating toward it for sure. Now, one example is a company called Cursor, Cursor. Somehow in the last year, by the way, Cursor is an AI code editor. Okay, so talk about adding and creating value. But in the last year, roughly about a year, they've gotten 100 million new users. Now, it took DocuSign 10 years ago. It took them actually 10 years to get to that point. And now we've got Cursor, AI code editor, generator, probably quality control checker, and so forth, is getting to 100 million users in a single year.
Yeah, I mean, I've not used Cursor, but I have created multiple web apps and all sorts of things for my personal life just to help me make decisions, like things that I might build out a full spreadsheet and all that. Like I have created apps with Claude to help me make decisions and solve problems in my personal life that I would have never done. I would have never tried to do some of these. I might have tried to, play around with Google Sheets to try to get some fancy calculation done, but it is turning. It's back to that whole citizen developer conversation. Anyone can start to create and build things. And, it's why there was that Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, commenting, I think it was at the end of last year, that, future software developers are going to be like communication specialists. Like he basically said, go get a major in like liberal arts and communication so you know how to communicate, because these tools take words and somebody who's very clear in explaining what they want, and that is what is creating code. And I've played around with a whole bunch of different tools, like Lovable, and I think it's like what I don't even remember. But the point is, there are so many of these different tools where you just explain what you want and it builds it. And you can start to really create some cool things. So it doesn't surprise me about Cursor. And there are a lot of other folks that are being able to create solutions like this.
So if you can surgically articulate a prompt, and these are the skills he's saying that you should get in college potentially as you go into the marketplace, that then you can actually direct the power of AI to create value. And that's where your differentiation comes in potentially, right?
Yeah.
Now, the other thing a lot of people do is they'll, even if they're still writing their own code, they'll write it and they'll drop it in some AI system to go check it. Is this good? Is this efficient? Is this clean? Do some QA and so on. And so legal contracts are doing the same. Lawyers, they're going into a court case and they drop, a huge prompt with a bunch of data into that to prepare for the court case. And, I've heard where a couple of things. First of all, the chat system now has your content, your intellectual property, not both in your code as well as your contracts potentially. But also, I've heard of AI sort of hallucinating and generating kind of crazy coding, crazy court case content
Yep.
that you take in and get embarrassed with. What do you think of that?
So there's a couple answers I have to this. I'm going to address the second one first. Simply, AI can hallucinate. AI is not there giving you facts. It is a prediction engine. Like, let's be really, really clear. These models were trained on more data than you can imagine, but to find patterns. And they are simply looking at patterns when you ask a question and giving that back to you. It is prediction. It is not true. So if you ever get anything that you don't know is true, and you don't know is accurate, go check it. Like, I put the fault 100% squarely on these attorneys that did not check the court cases before they went to court. And from going back to the legal arguments here, you will be found liable if you publish on your website something that is inaccurate, even if AI gave it to you. If you publish it, you are taking responsibility for its accuracy. So that is point one. Point two. Point one is yes, it is very possible to give AI content that then AI reuses and gives to somebody else, or your intellectual property contracts get out there. But this is getting less and less likely, assuming you know what you're doing. So, for example, if you have like a business Gemini license, the Claude license, ChatGPT Teams or Enterprise, all of those natively do not train on the data that you input nor the data that it outputs. So that's incredibly important, something you should be paying attention to. They've recently made possible for like the personal ChatGPT Plus accounts to turn off training. Originally, if you had a paid for plus account, you couldn't turn that off. Now you can. And same with the free versions. So it is incumbent upon all of us as users to make sure we know how our tools work, go into the settings, and turn off these capabilities that will enable the models to further train on your inputs and potentially give it back out to other folks.
Well, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And organizations deal with this differently, whether they have a privacy and security policy, whether you can or can't use it. And I
Right.
know, the notion in the future potentially could be that each company or, some sort of large body could have their own AI engine and keep all their data, private within that so they could still do AI, manipulated and enhanced content, but have that, not have it leak out anywhere essentially,
And a
right?
lot of companies are doing that. A lot of my clients have kind of built internal tools, all based on the GPT APIs, and name your model here. They can bring a lot of models together for their employee base, but they can do that all behind the firewall, all with an internal tool that they can guarantee stays within their four walls.
Well, it's getting more and more powerful, and obviously there's a lot of major players behind this. Obviously, some names we know out there, Elon Musk himself, right? So AI will be smarter than any human and will vastly outnumber us in the future. He obviously is putting it into cars to have self-driving, and he's putting it into robots and so forth so they can walk around and do useful things. So, and they're always asked to predict when that crossover point will come, when AI intelligence will rival human intelligence. And so I know you get into AGI and ASI and so forth. But what's your feel for beyond us playing with tools and things and enhancing our careers, where you can think of that's very digital? It's like hands-on keyboard and stuff. But when does it become more analog in a sense, where there is a car or there is a robot that is a part of your life and you don't have a keyboard anymore and you just talk to it and it just enhances from that perspective?
I left my analyst days well behind me. I hate making these predictions. I don't know. I mean, I think there are aspects that show us we're getting there closer and closer. I mean, Claude has their computer use, ChatGPT has operator. That is already inching in on the capabilities to give it a task, and it takes control of your computer, moves the mouse, types in boxes, and tries to accomplish a task. So there are bits and pieces we're seeing of this now, but I don't think we have to be that advanced to start seeing this truly impact our lives. I'm going to go back to marketing is just what I know, but the ability to kind of do data analysis and write content and to do data cleanup and have a persona check all of our work to make sure it's relevant to our audiences, like things that people do today, AI can take over. So you can now have one person doing the job of 5 or 10 people. And so while this is not kind of that kind of utopian future, the idea is that its ability to do more and think more like humans, it just depends on the task. And I think for many, it's there. For the big ones, no doubt. And, all of the Sam Altmans, I'm going to let them with their labs predict that much more than I can. But I think there's a lot of places where this technology is doing that today. And my biggest concern is really thinking through things like college graduates. These tools, I believe, you said it earlier, are intern-like now and can do a lot of capabilities, do a lot of things that college graduates would do when they come into a new workplace. And so what does their job become when AI can do all of this? I think those are some of the bigger questions, because it's those type of folks that are going to run into that AI roadblock first.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And because of the expertise of AI, and not only picking up the intern ones first, but also the other ones, the health ones that we talked about earlier, either the dentist example or the 500 billion that's being put into Texas. Their focus down there is to aggregate medical records together and be the doctor AI out of that enterprise they're putting together, which really puts together forms the next question of, is AI solving this aging problem that we have over time? Now, if we don't have to go to work, well, because AI is doing that, we have less stress. Well, that sounds good. If we can get some exercise and eat some good food, drink some good water, we might live a long time. And maybe AI can help in that already. I know your focus is in the marketing area, but you can imagine and extrapolate how it could be applied to all of those and change our world.
I can. I'm. What do we do? Go to a universal basic income type thing? Like where does the money? Like what do we do? It'll be interesting to think. I'd be really interested to start hearing from people who are thinking through and kind of imagining what this world will look like when we do get to that level of intelligence and that level of AI taking on kind of the common roles that the yous and I's do on a day-to-day basis.
Well, and I imagine there are going to be some comments on this video as folks are reading through with their opinions, and I do want them to share for sure. But what I'm going to do is shift gears now. We're just a little over the halfway point, and I want to share a screen with you because it is time right now for the speed round. Okay? Now, the speed round is all about getting to know Natalie. I don't know if you've ever had this before, but it's a series of questions, okay? Kind of 10 questions. And by the way, they're meant to be super fast. That's why you call it the speed round. So I ask you a question, you don't get a lot of time to respond. And you also don't get, a quick response as well as a short, concise
Oh,
response.
this
And I
makes me so
know.
uncomfortable. Let's go.
Yes, indeed. So, but you know what? It starts off. It starts off very easy, though. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm going to give you just the warm up questions first. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with that right here. The first one is, what's your favorite day of the week?
Saturday.
Saturday.
Are you looking for an explanation or just an answer?
A short one.
It's my recharge day. Week's done. I don't have to work tomorrow, so I'm not thinking about tomorrow.
Yeah.
And it's just a day to try to get out the the week and all of the things going through my head.
Yes, good. Well, hey, in this day and age, people working from home, from the office, from anywhere,
Hmm.
sometimes you kind of get confused on what day is what,
Yeah.
because with flexible working hours, I might work sometimes more on Saturday than on a Thursday for some reason, who knows? But
Yeah, I'll tell you, and I also read this interesting study, and I do need to find it. But there was somebody, it was one of the big, I think, consulting companies had done a study around for the people who use AI, like hour or so of AI use feels like a 4-hour workday. And given my life is focused on AI, I feel like I have these, 32-hour workdays. And, it's just a great way to let it all go.
Cool. All right. Now that was a warm-up question, and we took way too long. Now the
All right,
rest is
we'll be
truly
quick.
the speed round. You ready for the speed round?
Yep,
Here we go. Next one is texting or talking.
texting,
Ah, we need to know a little about you. Giving presents or receiving presents.
giving.
Nice. Number 4, what steps do you take to remain calm under pressure, like the pressure you're going to feel on these next series of questions?
Um, I always have, this is going to be awful. I always have my nails done. And it's like I look at that for making sure that's my, like, I feel complete and put together. And so I
Wow.
look and I'm like, okay, I'm put together. I can go.
Nice. Well, I know if I ever see you with your nails unfinished, that I should look
You
out.
won't. Or
No,
something's gone really bad.
I got it. Cool. Number 5, when will autonomous cars be commonplace?
I don't think it's long. I mean, I live in San Francisco and they're driving all around the city. So, I mean, I think we're probably a year or two.
Yeah, yeah. So those are sort of operated by, the organizations that they'll only go a certain, space in certain areas. And to do full on, who knows, within a year or two, it's going to be
Mhm.
crazy to see robotaxis and everything else. Number 6, will AI ever develop emotions that feel real to humans?
I think people who talk to them and have all of those AI friends and all of those apps that exist today would argue that they are talking to them and that the people they talk to feel human. So I struggle with that personally, but I bet I would argue that a lot of people who do use those applications would argue that it's there today.
Yeah, I think it is there. I think that if AI, you would suspect, can learn anything, it can easily learn human emotions and all the quirks that come with that and just play that back dynamically based on everything else it does as well. I've seen these little toys they give kids, and it's a little companion, and the kid talks to it, and AI processes that and talks to it throughout the years educationally. That's kind of scary, but functionally, I get it, but it's kind of crazy. Number 7, by what year will AI pass as a human in everyday conversations?
If it's a conversation about something that's not super technical or super specialist, I mean, quite frankly, I think we're there now.
Yeah, I don't know if you've ever had a phone call from an AI agent,
Hmm.
trying to sort of do some pre-sales on you. I've had them before, and they're getting pretty close for sure.
Well, if you
Number
talk to
8,
like the GPT, ChatGPT's like advanced text mode or advanced audio mode, it's amazing, and you can interrupt, and you can actually like have a conversation back and forth.
with little delay.
Yeah, I mean, it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller.
Yeah.
I mean,
When,
it's
when this
worth playing with.
When this chat agent called, what it did is when I answered it, it repeated my answer, which it was using that time to go calculate the next question, And then I would answer and it would repeat my answer back to me while it was calculating the next question. It's very clever, but when it did that, you couldn't feel the pause.
Yeah, I'll say advanced voice mode doesn't do that, so it can actually have the back and forth. The pause is a little longer than it should be, but it's pretty incredible.
Well, people typically think of their response before they're even finished listening to the question. Maybe AI is doing that too.
Yeah.
Number 9, will AI driven CEOs replace human CEOs on major companies?
No, I don't believe so. I think we still need a level of human intuition, human just uh, just decision making that sits above a lot of this to know what's right, just to have the ethical know-how, to have the what people need and want, and I do think that needs to be a person. That being said, do I think you can create a GPT to replicate like how your CEO thinks so that you can ask questions of them before you go pitch an idea? Absolutely.
Or will your CEO be leaning heavily on AI to make the decisions they need to make for the company? Right? More and more so. And so it'll kind of pseudo be that. Number 10, how long until AI solves aging and extends human lifespan? We kind of talked about that earlier.
Yeah, I don't know. I think there's so much that can happen in medical research and kind of drug manufacture, all of that AI can play a big part in. So I'm hopeful that AI can help go and help fix a lot of the diseases that we have and cancers we have. Like I'm very bullish there.
Nice. Well, that's our 10 questions. But in the spirit of Spinal Tap, where they took their amplifiers and turned them up to 11, which is the same as in a Tesla car, the volume goes to 11. Hey, we have a special 11 today. Will AI make the concept of work obsolete, leading to mass universal basic income, like we mentioned earlier? This is a very real question.
Oh God, I am not an econ. Like, I'm not. I don't want to put a stake in the ground. I don't know. I think there's so much AI can do today. I think it's going to massively change the type of jobs that exist. How far it goes, I don't. I don't know. Today I would be very scared to publish anything without review or just to have this stuff go off on its own. I think there's a lot of bad that can happen there. What it looks like in the next few years, I don't know. But we see this stuff just getting better and better.
Well, that UBI notion there is kind of crazy because if every year that goes by, more and more people are relying on AI to do something, and it's certainly helping people work smarter, but it
Hmm.
is replacing some people. And
Hmm.
after a while, when it not only thinks for you, but the robot does things for you, so now it's thinking and acting and creating and whatever. There could be a world where there is a large portion of the population that doesn't work. There isn't anything for them to do. And so universal basic income would be established because the GDP could be as high as ever because the
Yeah.
AI is smarter than ever and the robots are more capable than ever. So the GDP is high. Now they have to distribute some sort of system so folks can do what they need. Maybe you're on vacation all the time or whatever. I don't know. That's a tough one. That one's coming, and I would doubt it's a smooth transition to get to some
Oh,
point
I
out
think
there.
it's going to be incredibly rough, and don't want to get political. It's going to depend on the administrations are in charge. I mean, there's just so much at this that it is a conversation that needs to be had, and I truly hope that people are having it because I do worry about that. We're seeing like everyone in these. I don't want to say everyone in these knowledge worker roles. I mean, we are seeing people get laid off and not rehired. I mean, this is a reality today, and we need to find a way to either the new jobs have to come or an income mechanism, but it is a great conversation to be having.
Well, good. Now let's flip over into more of the future of AI here. So let's talk about your experiences in the world of cross training. And
Mhm.
this is where you don't just use a single API, you start seeing the new ones that are popping up all over the place, and you grab the value of each, aggregate them together, and really create something that not any one of them could have accomplished by itself.
So some of the places that I have, I think you kind of mean like the going through a chain of multiple models to accomplish something and whatnot. I'll do a lot of research in something like Perplexity, and bring that research to ChatGPT to create a specialist, a GPT, to do something for me, and then that what that creates spits out, and then that gets published on yet another system. I think I find it very commonplace that there's not just one tool to do the various things that we all need. And there's just this, at this point, this very large toolkit of different technologies that I say they're ever changing insofar as we have the same kind of tools that we've had access to for a while. We can call it Gemini, Claude, Perplexity, ChatGPT, but they're always kind of changing where they are in the different leaderboards. You're never going to keep up with all of them. But I quite often kind of bring answers from one to another and then get another output. I also use tools like Poe, which a lot of folks don't know about, but it's an AI platform that basically sits on top of all of the LLMs that are available, or all the various different models. It doesn't just have to be LLMs. And whenever you ask a question, you get one question, and then right at the bottom, you can click a button that asks the exact same question of a different model. And so you can ask the same question and have 15 different experts weigh in about 30 seconds. And so, for things that used to go, you go for multiple tools like Poe give you an ability to kind of get a bunch of answers, aggregate them to get those expert opinions. So, I don't know when we're going to stop moving between the tools, but I think, people have to find the tools that work for them for the different use cases that they're doing, and, don't hesitate to go between multiple to get your work done.
Well, yeah, I guess with new apps popping up all the time, they're kind of like specialties all the time. Like Cursor about, code editing and so forth. And you'll have
Yep.
other ones that do really good imaging. You'll have other ones that do really good video and maybe some
Mhm.
music creation and so forth. So those are the things that are probably more straightforward.
Yeah, those are
For
straightforward because like I love Suno. Suno's such a cool tool. If you haven't played with it, you can go give it a abstract or give it whatever, and it will create a full song in the style of the genre that you're looking for. So one time I was speaking at an event and I put the abstract of my session into Suno and told it to create a pop song. And so I literally turned my walk on music to this AI generated pop song around, Natalie teaching AI to marketers. Like, it was, people were laughing. It was absolutely, I found it absolutely hysterical. But it will show you all the words and it will write a full song that's quite catchy. And so like there's all these purpose built songs or I'm sorry, tools that can do these individual things. And I agree, like those aren't ones that I find myself moving a lot between, but it's the more standard, everyday, general purpose tools that I think are just worth kind of having kind of your fingers in all the different cookie jars, knowing which ones will help you get whatever you're trying to get done.
Well, it's nice if you aggregate those together. If you have to write a script and then get some music for it and then get some graphics going and so forth, you can find those tools, put that together, and away you go. And you
Mhm.
can feel across all those industries there's an impact there, that you're not spending a budget or assigning that toward contractors or artists that would be providing those sorts of things. And so at some point, and maybe we ask AI this, which industries are going to be at risk, sooner than others?
Well, I mean, this goes back to what I was saying earlier, which is uh, like think about the example I did about my website. The website I created in an old world would have required me to hire a web developer to build. I did not have to. I had AI create all of these various components for me. There was a study done recently. Actually, it wasn't. It was actually a couple of years ago, from Upwork, and they looked at the work coming in for writers specifically, and they found that once ChatGPT came out, not only did writing work go down dramatically on the platform, but the best writers were impacted more negatively than not the best writers. And so it was really interesting that folks and companies or whomever were hiring these folks were able to get the quality of work they found that they could get the quality of those best writers from AI, and that work kind of started disappearing from the platform. So we're seeing this today in the sense of AI being used to displace. I think agencies come first and things like that, but in this creative element, we're there.
So, have you thought about the differences then, like the industries that will be impacted for sure, and then maybe the industries that are not impacted at all? There are industries today where you have to go physically to a location and do something that requires a human, and so you would think, well, at some point, maybe years from now, it could be a robot potentially, some form of automation,
Mhm.
but there must be some sort of markets and job, if you think of job descriptions that were a little AI proof, like AI doesn't really help them so much and it doesn't take their roles away either. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I mean, my examples are relatively basic, but I mean, think about people who work with their hands. I mean, to your point about robots, yes, but like plumbers, contractors, people who do my nails, my hair, like people who are, they're human face to face businesses, like building something. I mean, yes, we could argue that houses can start being, I mean, wasn't there a 3D printed house a few years ago? I don't know if you saw that article,
Yeah.
and some of the things, we're doing some of these crazy things, but like, I think those jobs are much more AI proof. But if your job is to sit in front of a computer and do repeatable tasks every day, you are at risk, if not already, those roles are being replaced. And so, doctors I put in the category of kind of more like the plumbers, the human interaction. However, boy, do I think that they could benefit when they start really being able to bring the technologies together. I know I keep mentioning all these studies, but I read a lot of them and I'm really bad at remembering where they came from. But there was one not too long ago that I believe it was from Mass General that looked at doctors who were making, kind of diagnosing images and diagnosing patients based on images. And it found that the AI actually diagnosed best. Human second best, and human plus AI third best. And the hypothesis was that when an AI came with an answer and a human looked at it and it was different than their initial thought, they were more apt to ignore it than to bring it into kind of how they thought about the overall diagnosis. And so, it's people have to get more comfortable with these technologies, because I do think together there's so much we can do. But I mean, you talked about earlier that it's hallucinated on you and that, like, we have to get to a point where there's trust and that the accuracy is better.
Well, in that dentist example I brought up too, when the guy said, "Hey, let's try AI on this," and AI just analyzed it instantly, and again, it had a learning model of analyzing, hopefully thousands and thousands. So it has some grand experience. Now, the doctor walked in and was sort of threatened by that, going, "Hold on a minute here, I'll tell you what's going on." Well, they might have a lot of experience too, but I doubt they have as much as the AI model. And certainly over time, no physical human would ever have as much experience as a well-trained AI model, almost in any field. Which brings me to my last question to you, and that is, we don't want to be these humans that are falling behind. And so how do we connect into the AI a little better? And now the question is, what do you think of this Elon Musk Neuralink sort of thing, where his issue is that our transfer rate of data in, data out is way too low. And if we tap in and speed that up, we can process things better. Is transhumanism the way to go with this AI world, or should we just go for the UBI?
Oh my God, Brad. These questions are unreal. I don't know. What I will tell you is I listened to a really interesting podcast with one of the very first humans that Elon Musk did the Neuralink for. He was paraplegic, and it was how he was able to start doing things. And I think in his case, it was playing video games in ways that he hasn't been able to in years, or since the accident. And I think using those technologies for use cases like that are incredible. Bringing a huge quality of life shift to someone who couldn't do things like that in the past. If we're all going to become like some, I was going to say like versions of Terminator or something, I don't know, like, bring in a machine. I hope not.
Yeah, I hope not. I don't think so. So we're going to find out, because all this stuff is moving very, very fast. Mm-hmm. And so hang on. But you know what? For all the folks listening, and by the way, you must have liked what you heard if you're still here at this point in the video. So thank you for hanging out, and like, subscribe, the whole thing. Thank you very much. I want to just give the folks some practical advice on the way out the door, right? Yeah. It's like, okay, let's say some folks are kind of medium right now. They've dabbled in ChatGPT a little. What's the practical advice for them to go to the next stage in the spirit of, boy, you better know what you're doing in AI. You don't want to be the one standing on the corner going, "I never heard of it. I don't know how to use it at all." Because when it comes time to have a job interview or transfer from one role to another, boy, you better have some AI experience on there, and the more extensive, the better. Because the future, as we talked about, roles are in jeopardy,
Yep.
and the notion of an AI enhanced super person without Neuralink, but just tons of experience, makes you valuable. How do I do that?
Yeah, yeah. So I think kind of the operative word you used is dabble. Like that's the problem. We can't be dabbling in this. We need to be kind of changing things like a workflow at a time, a task at a time. So kind of my biggest recommendation to folks is always kind of start small, change one habit. Don't care the habit, change one. Whether it's, instead of going to Google to search for your vacation, go to Perplexity. If whatever it is, just change a habit. And, instead of the next time you're going through all of your documents online, maybe I am a Google Workspace user and I've got kind of Gemini built in. Instead of going to find it, like ask Gemini to find it and bring it up for you. Change a habit. Just change how you do things. And don't do it once, but change it on a day-to-day basis. One of the biggest recommendations is just change your home screen. So many people have Google on their browser home screen. Change it to what you want to be searching in, whether it be ChatGPT, whether it be Perplexity, and start to see what these technologies are capable of and grow from there. One of the things that I've noticed works so well is when you talk about AI with your friends or folks, you can you can say something and someone will hear it, and while that use case might not be immediately applicable, it just gets you thinking of, oh, but I could apply that here. And so I've brought up crazy examples in sessions that I've run, and somebody has interpreted it in a way that it was nothing like what I said, but it sparked that idea of how they could use it on a day-to-day basis. So I would also say, just like, ask your friends how they're using it and see if there's anything interesting in there that you feel you can apply to your life.
I think that's it. And some are going to be a little intimidated by it, but I think they need to jump in and try it the way you said. And I think what's interesting also is you don't really think until you use it about how it can help you almost with everything you do in life. I mean, you can use it even personally during the weekends just to get experience on it. Just ask it, if you're looking at a product you want to buy, have it do the differential, comparison across everything, and
Take
then
a
work.
picture of your refrigerator and ask it, what can you make with, the food that's in your refrigerator? I mean, like, do be crazy.
Yes, well, so I've done that too. You take a picture of something. Like I had this old object I had to replace, and I took a picture and I pumped it into ChatGPT. First thing I said is, "What is this thing?" And it came back with the make, model, and whatever. And then I go, "How do I replace it?" Came back with the 4 different stores I could go to find it, and so on. So the visual analysis as well as the prompting analysis is very helpful.
Well, I'll say it, Brad, that's a really good one. There's a person I follow on social who had actually the mic that I am wearing. And he was wearing this mic, and his audio quality on all of his content was so good. And I was like, my audio quality is not that good. I need this mic. So I literally paused one of his videos, took a screenshot of the guy speaking, gave it to ChatGPT and was like, what mic is this? I want it. And it found it for me, sent me a link to Amazon, and I was blown away. And as somebody who deals with these technologies every day, but just to be able to say, like, there's a picture, I want that, get me that, and it was able to find it for me.
Oh yeah, I mean, what else do you need? It has visual analysis, and then voice or text analysis,
Yep.
and then it's your companion in some ways to help you through
I'll give
life.
you another fun example, and I know we're ending this. I was in Mexico over Christmas, and we had a 1-bedroom condo, and the microwave was in Spanish. And we didn't know how to use it. I wanted to heat something up. So I put on video mode and started pressing the buttons. And I was like, can you tell me how I turn this thing on? And so it would go through the buttons like, okay, that button is the one that you put the time. And it literally walked me through how to turn this microwave on so that I could heat up this food I had in the fridge.
Wait, was
So
that
it
ChatGPT that
was
had video
ChatGPT
mode?
with advanced voice mode with the video. So it was using both of them. So it was like talking to ChatGPT, saying, I'm in Mexico. You give it the context. I'm in Mexico. I want to heat up my food. This microwave is all in Spanish. and I pushed all the buttons, and it literally told me, like, click the third one, click the second, change this. It did the entire thing for me. And I was able to completely use the microwave. Like, this is a world that just, I would never have been able to do that in the past. And it was amazing.
Well, that was definitely not a use case I was expecting to hear today. But you know, that's the point. It'll do anything.
It'll do anything.
Well, thanks, Natalie. You're amazing. You know what?
Yeah.
So big thanks to Natalie. You know, if you enjoyed, and you're still around with us now, like, share, subscribe, do the whole thing. And until next time, rethink the game and rewrite the rules. Thanks, Natalie.
Thanks, Brad.